this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
Wake up. Time to die.
Good morning, Angel.
Good morning, Charlie.
Yo, she-bitch. Let's go.
I'm on Dad's Uncle Mac, too.
Don't fuck with the babysitter.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
Swing.
Yeah, baby. Bueller, you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
What are you looking at, spothead? Fucking Chuck Norris.
Great Scott.
I know, this is heavy.
You just gotta keep living, man. L-I-V-I-N.
Cinema Royale.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
Hello and welcome to Cinema Royale, where we deliver a discussion one reel at a time. I am your host, Mike. People on the internet call me Scooter. I'm best known for the one other podcast than this one, known as Attack of the Awesome, because I do more episodes of Attack of the Awesome than my video reviews. Along with me is my excellent crew of movie aficionados. That includes James Sullivan, known as Jaime-tude.
Hello.
Morgan Ledger.
Hey everybody, I am the inspiration for Kramer.
And Matt.
Hello.
Alright, so what Cinema Royale is in a nutshell is we talk about a topic and we just go on with it and talk for about an hour, hour and a half. And the topics get chosen by my movie topic dartboard, where I toss a dart at it and the topic comes about. So today's topic is physical/practical effect versus CGI. This is the first Royal
Is that how you choose
Rumble.
these things?
Yeah, that's how I choose it, by using a dartboard. Which, yes, if you watch Pod's music movie reviews, I kind of copy that. But yeah, physical effect versus CGI. The first Royal Rumble. Who gets to win? We'll find out. So let's start it off. Let's start out by how should I say this? What do you prefer, physical effect or CGI?
Doesn't it sort of depend on the movie?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, it definitely does.
It definitely does.
It's like comparing like an old movie that uses practical effects and it's good, and yet you watch a film using CGI and that really looks good. You know, it really depends what's your cup of tea.
Exactly. That's what I was trying to think about. I mean, what are examples of movies that use practical effect and CGI?
For me, I have a great example for which film that uses practical effects and he uses so well. Have any of you guys returned to Oz?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That is an amazing film. I feel like every special effect that was used, like I actually believe that it was there, and I think that's one of the things for me that one of the biggest advantages that practical effects have is that you believe that it's there with the people. Like I believe that TikTok and Pumpkinhead and like the moose couch actually there with Dorothy, and like I know it takes a lot of effort just to build and stuff like that, but it looks really good.
The effort pays off.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what about the stop motion effects? Oh yeah.
The stop motion yeah, like the Will Vinton, like I will admit, for stop motion, it's really good, but like I'll admit, like for that moment, if it would need CGI, then it would use it. Like it would probably need that. Like I will admit, stop motion animation, like as good as it is, I don't find it to be as good as CGI. That's one of the things that I would lean more towards. Or like if I would say something good for CGI is that it's better than using stop motion because like at least with CGI there's like the movements are more fluent and there's at least more credibility than there is to stop motion.
Perhaps. Have you seen? But have you seen either RoboCop or Terminator as of late? Because
I
both of
have seen
those films,
Terminator, yeah.
both of those films, very strongly use stop motion effects. Or in the case of RoboCop, it was go motion.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing in Dragon Slayer too.
Mm. Indeed.
Dragon Slayer. I still have to see that.
You're not the only one in that boat.
Yeah, I know.
For me personally.
What?
Sorry, go on. Get used to a lot of sorry go-ons here, folks.
Yeah.
What were you about to say, Morgan?
I think for me personally, it greatly varies when practical effects work the best and when CGI is greatly needed. And I think a great example of that sort of scenario where it's sort of like you can't live without the yin and the yang. Jeer me, boo me if you want, but the Flintstones movie from 1994. Okay, I don't think it's a masterpiece either. But here's the thing: in terms of special effects, it is a film of its time where it was pretty high tech. And if I do recall, there was a situation where they were trying to get the character of Dino nailed. And if I recall originally, they were actually going to have a person in a suit. But when they were doing the tests, they realized there were going to be some problems, some implications where you'd have the character running around doing all these fast moves, sort of like the character in the cartoon. And if it wasn't for Jurassic Park, they wouldn't have all these people from Island coming on and saying, "Oh, you need help with so-and-so, we can apply with this." And so the practical elements of Dino were more slimmed down to an animatronic head and times the feet, but they were able to use the movements of the suit as a reference. So there are points when you can do something that is there, but sometimes there's going to be some complications or limitations to something of that nature. I mean, I'm not saying I'm for CGI. I mean, for me, I really do love practical effects. Just the idea that something is there, that you can actually touch something, you can interact with something. But, there are points you're going to have to grind your teeth and say, if I'm going to do a film like Casper, we can't have this, green screened in transparent sheet. It's going to have to be something that's three-dimensional and computerized.
Well, also, like, one of the biggest factors, I think, that right now CGI is used pretty much all the time more than practical effects. There's just one word best to describe it: money. That's the thing.
Yes.
With computer, at least it's actually cheaper, and it actually it goes a lot faster. I think I'm not sure like to get all the details and stuff like that. I don't know, but like I think it could be faster. Like I remember seeing a behind the scenes clip, and I don't know why this, but of the Super Mario Brothers movie. I'm sorry to bring you all those bad memories, but
I don't have any bad memories. It's a guilty pleasure.
Yeah,
for me.
it is a guilty pleasure.
Okay.
It's a movie that probably would have done better if it was not called Super Mario Brothers, the movie.
Yeah, that's true.
Two plumbers go.
Not that makes it bad.
Yeah. No, but anyways, as I was saying, I saw that there was these. They showed us how they made the Yoshi animatronic, and apparently it took them a long time just building it alone, and they had to had, I think 5 people control the Yoshi animatronic. It's like one guy works on the tail, one guy works on the head, one guy works on the neck, one guy works on the arms. Like it's a very difficult process.
And it looked like such a small puppet too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Well, then again,
it's
Audrey was no
complex.
simple puppet either.
Mm-hmm.
No,
And also,
Audrey
like,
you.
Yeah.
Damn it.
That's me rubbing my hands together for Morgan, mentioning Little Shop of Horrors.
I mean, that's a creation that really took a lot of hard effort, because I think originally they're gonna do like thousands of cables and hydraulics, but they decided to instead go with more pulling levers and stuff like that. I think the first stage, like when the plant talks, that's actually a guy that's Brian Henson, doing this slow motion kind of puppetry, because there's later revealed
in which
that
one?
they sped up the Little Shop of Horrors, the '86
Oh,
film.
okay, yeah. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it was discovered on accident that if they sped up, the film at a certain amount of time, it looks like the plant is talking. So they would have the actors slowly moving on the stage or slowly singing. And when it got to the bigger plant, that's have like 30 or 40 people pulling all these cables and levers and stuff like that. It's just bananas and nuts. It's
Okay. No, it reminds me of no, when you mentioned Brian Henson, it reminds me back to Return to Oz when Brian had to work on Pumpkinhead.
yeah.
like-
I actually did have a behind the scenes featurette of that film, and it does show him actually trying to work the whole thing. That took like I think people to bring that thing to life, because it's literally a stick figure.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
literally
like,
what they had to work.
I think there was this I think Brian was like he was controlling the whole body, and like there were a few people just working on the hands and on the head and all that stuff. I think that's how it worked.
Yeah.
No, but also, have you seen how they did the TikTok special effect? Like that looked painful.
Oh, I felt so bad for the guy in the suit. He had to bend down at a 90-degree angle.
Oh, jeez.
I'm not kidding. I saw photos of this thing. There's a little guy in the suit, and he had to bend down at a 90-degree angle. He had to flop from side to side. It's oh my god.
Oh
Kudos
my God,
to whoever had back problems after making that film.
Yeah, really.
Yes, they had a very strong backbone.
Mm.
No, but
Hopefully.
yeah, but also back to the subject. Talking about like how practical effects, like we all know it's there and stuff like that. This is another thing. Like this is why I love animation, because like rather it be like CGI or like hand drawn or stuff like that. Like it's in its own world, and no matter what they throw at us, like we know it's there. Like for example, I'm trying to think of one. The Adventures of Tintin. I have to admit that one has possibly the best it's stop motion that I've ever seen. Period. And like everything that they do, like from the scene where they have to drive, like the chasing scene where Captain Haddock had the bazooka and he shoot it the wrong way. Like I remember like that just looked amazing. I just bought every single moment. Like whatever happens, it happens, and like I can buy it.
Mm. Yeah, it exists in a very I don't want to use the term surrealistic. It technically is. They're trying to be realistic with it, and yet stylized at the same time, so
Yeah.
that you don't you have that suspension of disbelief. But as for real, as for my ideal of real versus CGI, I want to bring up the case of the Thing.
Oh, jeez. Oh,
Yes.
God.
You gotta be
Yeah.
fucking kidding.
Well, I watched both I watched both the original remake with John Carpenter, or remake by John Carpenter, which I think is a classic, one of the greatest horror films of all time. A prequel from 2009, which is supposed to be uh, a prequel. Uh, it goes by the same title, and you know, only by the end of the film does it finally resemble John Carpenter's The Thing. The original used uh, puppets, freaking puppets for their monsters, and all practical effects. And while some of my favorite moments in the film even are noticeable, if you stop the film at the right point and take a look at it, um, the thing with following it up with a prequel that's almost all CGI, and I say almost because I did watch the making of documentary for it, and they did have practical effects in the Thing 2009, but even somehow even for that film somehow they made the practical effects look.
I just want to say, in terms of the original Thing, just a small piece of trivia. The scene where the head split apart, all that goo stuff was actually the material they used to make for Twinkies.
Oh, that must
I see
so
stuff
good.
like that is interesting.
I am totally not making that up.
Oh wow! Yeah, that all is very very useful to know actually. Um, somehow somehow if you take even stuff like that, is someone trying to talk over there?
Nope, that was me.
You
Sound like a
wheezing?
phone, actually.
That was my phone.
Oh.
I knew it.
Oh, okay. Um, yeah, you have to go through some possibly some effort or even lack thereof to make your practical effects look CI. Um, so that's all I really have to say about that example. But they still do a lot of practical effects in films. There's a company actually in my area called 3210 Studios. Have I told you guys about this?
2210? No.
Uh-uh.
They are a company that used to be affiliated with uh, with Lucas Arts or Lucasfilm, and yeah, they used to be a branch of Lucasfilm, and then they then they eventually became Kerner Optical. They have this location has undergone a lot of different names over the years. It used to be known as Sprockets. It was where the original Pixar team worked, and now
Point Edmond?
uh,
No,
um,
Point Richmond, I mean.
yeah, it's that area.
Oh, all right.
Hmm. And what they do now as 3210 Studios, uh, they call themselves that now because Kerner Optical went bankrupt. But as 3210 Studios, they still have some of the guys that were working there under the previous namesake, and those what they do now is all almost all practical effects. If a movie studio out there is looking to make their movie look a little bit more realistic, or if they have a visual effect to be more realistic and CGI just doesn't cut it, they send their footage to these guys and they say, we want that ship in the background to blow up. And these guys will actually rig up explosives to models and blow it up. So that's why I've been wanting to get some sort of internship there.
That sounds cool.
Nice.
Yep. Mike, you've been fairly silent for this time period.
Yeah, I was just trying to think of what a good example would be of some film or some director who does practical effects a lot, and I was actually just looking, and apparently Christopher Nolan has been known to use practical effects over CGI, especially in The Dark Knight and Inception.
Mm-hmm. It's true when you think about it. It's like The Dark Knight is such a big Hollywood movie, and yet when you think about it, it's not like Transformers or anything that doesn't really use like computer CGI or stuff like that. Like when you see like the Batmobile, or when you see like big explosions and stuff like that, you know it's there.
Exactly.
Yeah, they went to insane lengths with that movie. They actually launched that 18-wheeler.
Yes.
The air.
I was gonna mention that because that was like the one that I keep thinking of every time. I was like, I actually flipped that semi.
Well, there's stuff like that you can barely get away with in today's world. I remember, and I hate to bring this up, but in 1983, when Johnson was doing a segment for Twilight Zone the movie, there was an incident where they had a helicopter, unfortunately, crashing down and killing one of the actors. So there's a fine line between how realistic the stunt should be in an effect like that, and how some things should be played safe. Now, the 18-wheeler getting flipped in The Dark Knight, imagine what that would be like if it caused any problems. I mean, think about it now. I didn't even think it was practical, considering how overabundant CGI is these days, especially when we have the ability to make ships blow up or things crash, or even, an earthquake appear in the Arctic or something like that. Just there's always a limitation to how far a stunt effect should go, and that's a whole different scenario right there.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, the problem with part of the problem with Twilight Zone, the movie, was not taking into account the of the people involved. I personally think that they could have done that, and it could have been safe. Just cover the scene differently. You do not actually have to position. You do not have to actually position a helicopter over somebody just to film a scene. But with the case of The Dark Knight and the flipping semi, I don't think anybody was really present in that scene that would have gotten effect.
I can think of two incidents.
I think it could happen in a studio, like they prep for it and like they set it all up.
Yeah, they just prep it up, and then they get the wires all ready, and all of a sudden, boom, they get it done. Either in a couple of takes or so, and I mean, they have to do it like in one take, so it takes time and practice to actually get it all ready. And that's the thing with practical effects; it takes time to, get it going.
I can already think of two incidents from Poltergeist that, again, effects-wise are interesting to look at, but at the same time, reading the behind-the-scenes information. Has anyone ever seen the film?
Yeah.
I have.
I remember the scene where the girl goes into the closet and all the stuff starts falling into the closet, the toys and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
They actually had to tilt that entire room, sort of like almost the Nightmare on Elm Street effect, where they had to tilt the room but not tilt the camera. And oh my god, the girl, it was a one take scenario. Actually, they were going to do multiple takes, but she was so traumatized by that Spielberg really had to walk over to her and comfort her, and it's that experience of hanging on the bed and almost falling into the closet. The other second note was where the mother tries to get back in the house. All these weird things are going on. She falls into the pool where the skeletons appear. They had a lot of electrical currents getting the lights. What I'm trying to bring up is not skeleton. That's probably something obviously some other person's gonna bring up. But this is from the movie Database, where the actress, I forget her name, but she was actually filmed to go in the pool because of all the electricity in there, because they had to use lighting and stuff like that. And so Spielberg did the bravest thing. He actually stood in water while the scene was being directed, showing the safety insurance, that thing. But again, as brought up earlier, when you're doing things like these, you always have to make sure of the limitations of how they're to be executed, because you don't want harm to come to the actors, and you certainly don't want the effect to either come off as being a fluke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Don't worry, the real skeleton in this scene won't hurt you.
It was cheaper to get real skeletons.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
yes,
true.
but is it ethical?
I just realized, just to change the subject a bit, there's this one movie I just realized that there's that used nothing but practical effects, and nowadays it's actually very surprising. It's very surprising that they would do that move. Any of you guys seen Fantastic Mr. Fox?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yes.
It's practically what?
Go on.
Yes, James. Yeah, practically. I was surprised that every single scene in there that they had to use. They had to do They had to do everything practical from they had like water, they had fire and all that stuff, and it's surprising to me because even films nowadays like Paranorman and Coraline and stuff like that, they cheated their way using CGI just for a few things like fire and water, but like they can't. But in Fantastic Mr. Fox, they want things to be like actually there. So I have to give it doesn't. I have to admit it doesn't look as good. Like it looks a little cheap and stuff like that. But you do have to give kudos to them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with the case of the Fantastic Mr. Fox, it was like you were saying earlier. You can do whatever because it exists in its own world.
Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. That thing. Yeah. Pretty much.
And that's why that works with that particular film.
It's true, but it's just for me it was a little more special because normally stop motion, like I said, stop motion films normally they allowed themselves to cheat their way a bit using CGI.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm actually surprised. Actually, can we talk about a bit of CGI? I feel like I don't know. I felt like we mostly talked about practical stuff.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
I
there
have
must
a.
be good CGI stuff, you know?
There's gotta be.
There's good
I mean,
CGI stuff. It's just so hard to find. No.
yeah, I mean,
Now,
the only thing I can think of at this point in terms of modern CGI versus practical effects in terms of setting up an environment is probably the dead obvious Avatar. I mean, that's
Yeah,
literally
that's the
eye
obvious.
candy CGI. Now, I know a lot of people are probably going to shoot me down for this one. At least give it some credit. Now, when it comes to Prometheus, Ridley Scott really, really found a balance between practical work and GI work because you're in this environment. It's actually sets that are built. There's actual creatures that are created. The engineers, the weird squid baby, whatever it is. I'm not giving too much away. Moments like that are just literally there. Because again, there's always a limitation to when things can be created. But just being this giant spaceship, he's really good at making these believable, areas like Blade Runner with the futuristic utopia that was all models. I think sound stages. It's just absolutely nuts to compare the two to show how practical effects can set up, a very bleak environment compared to another film where it can really create this very, very, believable dimensional digital kind of world. Sort of this, you have these different films to literally marvel at. One for creating this very grimy, sort of horrific atmosphere, and another one that's sort of more, jungle-like, which is unique in terms of comparing and contrasting of the two.
Yeah.
And then you have stuff like John Carter, which is absolutely crap.
yeah. And by the way, also I was thinking like there are times when a CGI people would have no choice but to do CGI. Like for example, I've seen like comparing to both. This might be a terrible comparison. Clash of the Titans. Like both these movies. Like I know like the new one really sucks. I hate it, but in terms of how the special effects are, hate me if you want, but I think the CGI in the new Clash of the Titans works a little bit better than Harryhausen's practical effects in the original 1980s version. Like there are I will admit that there are some really good effects like in the 1980s version, like the opening scene when the entire city is tumbling down, like when they had to destroy the city. That I admit that was a really good effect. It's just that comparing like the CGI Kraken to CGI Kraken to the housing Kraken, honestly, I think the CGI one looks a little better than the stop motion one. It's just when I see stop motion comparing to live action, it just seems a bit out of place. Like it just I don't know if it would work 100. Like I'm sure that there are some that would work, but it's just that it doesn't like with stop motion. I'm completely out of it. It doesn't feel like it's there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I kind of see what you mean, because stop motions just doesn't look like realistic sometimes. I mean, with CGI, it goes to every single detail to make it look realistic, in a way.
Yeah.
Mm.
And
Well,
also, I
yeah.
just what?
Well, you got a good example of CGI conquering there, and I think that's a very good point. Maybe Harryhausen as as legendary as he was, some of that stuff is a little bit dated.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Go on though.
But also, yeah, another thing that I thought about is that there are at some points nowadays that you would have no choice but to do it do CGI. Like I was thinking of Transformers, like the Michael Bay films. There's no way that you can do practical or any other thing to make like the giant robots, you know? Like you can't literally like design an animatronic car that can literally transform. That's just impossible. Like so like even though the films are bad, like like keep in mind the Transformers each Transformers film, I think each one of them got an Oscar nomination for its visual effects, you know? It's like you like imagine if you have to do a stop motion Transformers film, you know, get like like suddenly revive Harryhausen by the power of Cthulhu and ask him to do the special effects for Transformers, you know.
No,
It's
not happening.
it's funny you bring that up because I do recall when Tim Burton was doing Mars Attacks, he originally was going to use stop motion animation for The Martians to kind of do this little Ray Harryhausen homage. And, you know, he wanted the special effects to look cheap and purposely fake looking as possible. And unfortunately, aside from hiring on someone to do the stop motion work and actually did a couple of tests, the problem came into play when the budget was projected at 100 million, and apparently they wanted it for no more than 75, and so instead they turned to industrial light this test reel. And so, at that point, Bert realized he had no choice but to, rely on computer animation, which brought the production budget down to 80 million. So, sadly, something like that has to really go into play when you're, relying on a certain technique to work out. And, personally, I think it really worked for the best. You actually see these unique characters blowing stuff up in this Gremlins kind of fashion, and I think that's what really makes the film really work. The design, the creation, and just how they pull the effect off. It's just so cheesy that you can't take it serious. You actually somehow come to think that these creatures are literally there destroying the earth just for their own enjoyment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also,
Okay.
there was one thing I just thought about. Oh, sorry. Were you about to say something, James or Mike?
You can go. You can go first.
No, but there's one thing. There's just one thing I realized is it's like if you could do like an interesting test is what if you would take a movie, like an old movie, and like you have to ask, would it be better if you take that old movie and just make it into CGI? And I just realized, wait a minute, oh crap, there's something that already exists of that. I'm sure you all know. Star Wars. Pretty much it's iPod of movies. Every 5 years or so, there's always a new version, just with a little addition to it.
For a moment there, I thought you were going to mention the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, actually.
What? Cabinet of... What?
The
last time I heard about that
horror
movie
film.
is what James Rolfe talked about it.
The original horror masterpiece, which was remade only a couple of years ago using actors in front of a green screen and a 35mm print of the film itself.
Please tell me they didn't do the same to Metropolis.
No, they haven't. They just remade that as an anime.
I would be heartbroken if they did.
My God, yeah.
So yeah, as an example of of, uh, of good CGI effects, um, I just got this idea a minute ago. I'm looking at the list for what the Oscar nominations are this year for individual effects,
Isn't
and
Life
I'm
of Pi one
reminded,
of them?
yes, Life of Pi. Um, The Hobbit, I have not seen yet, and I'm sure it's terrific because, hey, it's Peter Jackson. The Avengers, it was mind blowing, but not just for the CGI effects. Life of Pi, not only was it great CGI, but would you really stick a kid in a boat with a tiger, a real tiger, for making a movie? That's an example where you can't. That's like you have to use CGI for that
Mm.
in order to make it,
True.
and it looked real. Now there were some shots where they could have, if they wanted to, uh, they wanted to do practical or do a puppet or something like that, but it it worked without it. And oh yeah, don't forget the I shouldn't forget the Narnia movies.
Oh
Hmm.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
They
that's true.
can't train a lion to, lip sync like something out of Mr.
Yeah,
Red.
to top. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you couldn't even do Mr. Red today.
Never.
Mm,
Because
never.
never. Because you see all those damn CGI animal movies that talk, and that's all CGI.
Yeah, and it,
It's all
I mean, oh, right, all
it's
right.
all a little bit.
Well, I should take that back because there's one example that kind of mixed CGI mouth moving and kind of like animatronics, which was cats and dogs.
Oh yeah,
mm,
that
Yeah,
was weird that they had to use both. You know?
yeah, because
yeah,
I was
yeah.
watching the making of, and they were like some were like cat animatronics and dog animatronics, and there was like sometimes like where they used the CGI mouth talking. I was like, okay, but it
And if
worked. It
you really
worked.
want and if you really want an example of bad uh, CGI mouth movement, check out the Buddies movies.
Mm.
All right.
So I
Well,
guess we probably should wrap things up then, huh?
Yes. So so we pretty much talked about the good and the bads of CGI and practical effects. I would personally say I would prefer practical over CGI, obviously. Um, any last final thoughts before I end it?
well, I still say it depends on the film. That's the
I'd probably have
biggest.
to
Go on.
go on, James. Go on, James.
Um, yeah, I would if I had the chance. I would make I would make a movie myself using Go Motion if I could, because I just just to be able uh, to do something like that. Go over if anybody uses that and say would be you have to figure out a story that works for them.
Sure.
You guys
Yeah.
have the table now.
Um, Me personally, I probably have to say, what was I going to say? I probably have to agree with you. There's certain limitations to what practical effects can do, though I do admire the craftsmanship and hard effort one puts into making animatronic or in effect so believable. So even though there were a couple of points where I kind of felt, yeah, there's certain limitations to what certain things can do, I still say there is a charm and whim to seeing a stop-motion puppet or a person in a suit. And, if anyone is big on practical effect monkeys and wondering, how it was done, I highly recommend looking into some of the past issues of Cinefex. You definitely, over Reddit, you can find some of their back issues online, but regardless, it's just something really, really to marvel at. It's kind of a breath of fresh air to see what it was like doing these things in the past, like making people walk clouds or, having some giant monster chase someone. There's always going to be a certain charm to it, no matter how difficult or hokey it looks, even if it is like, a man in a T-Rex suit, like in The Last Dinosaur. There's always going to be something entertaining to it.
Yeah, very good points.
Indeed.
And there's Stay Puft Marshall.
All right. I guess.
Yeah, so that is it for this episode. And the next topic for the next episode, I just kind of threw darts at the board, and the one that hit dead on was Pixar films / are they losing their touch? Since CGI came up in this episode, we might as well just go along with Pixar.
This is
go along with the movement.
So yeah, this has been Cinema Royale. I'm Mike.
I'm James Sullivan. Hi, me too.
I'm Morgan Ledger.
Matt was with us. Thanks for listening, and see you in the next episode.
Ciao for now, y'all.
Later.